験を始めようか。
What is going on, everybody? Ruby Red here. I am here and reintroducing the one and only JuicyGirltv.
Hi! Hi everyone, we're back again. We're here for a do-over.
So this is going to be kind of part 2, part 3-ish of what you've seen in the part 1 that you guys have already seen. If you guys haven't seen that, go ahead and check that out. But since then, Juicy has got something to show us. She has finally freed herself, and now she is going by Robin, her new name. And
oh, you did like a I see. Oh.
because I do support Juicy and what she does. So we want to congratulate her on coming out and being the woman that she is.
Oh, thank you very much. I felt terrible when we did our last interview. I had just about, I was maybe about a month or two into privately coming out as trans to my friends and family, and I was not publicly out. And yeah, I was doing a lot of things in secret at the time, and I was trying very hard to answer questions, but at the same time I was being quite deceiving. I was being quite deceptive with my answers. So I felt it was only appropriate that I give you a new interview this time, where I don't have to like kind of bite my tongue and hide things about what's going on in my life.
Oh no, it's all good. I actually went back and watched those. You kind of slipped it out a little bit.
I did slip a few times. Like I did allude to it a few times.
I had to sit there and like listen, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But
So...
like, it didn't register until after you came out. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was definitely very much like, it was maybe about 2 to 3 months in to me privately like making some changes in my life and starting to plan and facilitate a transition into my life. And yeah, so and you know, people were starting to clock on, people were starting to see, and then I eventually came out publicly. When was it? I think it was September was when I publicly announced everything to the world at large.
Yes, and everybody made their signs, and you wanted everybody to be part of that, and the letter was the kicker that didn't register to me until after it all came out.
Yeah, I remember making that video. I remember making the video. I knew I wanted to do something fun. I wanted to do something that was like, I wanted to script something. I wanted to, you know, I needed to make some kind of song and dance out of announcing that I was trans, because so many people knew me already, and a lot of people knew me specifically as Juicy Boy. And I knew that just kind of like just saying like, hey guys, you know, just letting you know, or if I just mentioned it in a caption, a lot of people kind of wouldn't get the memo, and word wouldn't really sort of get out, and so maybe a lot of people would be looking for Juicy Boy, and they'd be wondering like where he is, you know, and they wouldn't know about like the name change and things. So I was like, I need to kind of like think of something a little bit crafty and a bit of entertainment, really, and an entertaining way to announce it, so that way then it does appear on people's pages who follow me. Because even if you've got followers on TikTok, you still have to kind of like fight to get onto the For You page and onto like their phones. So I knew I wanted to make something quite entertaining, because otherwise I was worried that people weren't going to get the memo. And then no one was going to know where I went. You know? They'd be like searching me up, and they'll be like, oh, who's this bitch?
they're like, it's gonna be like the brother sister thing. Like your sister took over.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what
The
that's what
sister
my
finally
friends
took
are thinking.
over.
Wait, I looked. It's like I looked him up, and there's nothing there. And then I like show them the video. They go, "Oh." I
Hmm.
go, "Yeah, yeah, that's what it is." So,
Yeah.
but um, I'm glad that you are finally free. And as I've seen in your videos, you're taking your meds
My meds, yes.
finally.
My
Yeah, that's what it,
antihistamines. Um
yeah.
or titty skittles, as some like to say. Um
Yes.
yeah, I've started HRT. That's part of my medical transition that I am undergoing. I'm very early on in a lot of that, so it's the early days of medical transition. There's a lot of things that go into you know, transitioning, and I spent a long time planning and researching because, like, you know, a lot of people try to make it seem like transitioning is this like thing that can accidentally be done at times, and I can assure you that there is you'd be hard pressed to find an easy route to gaining and obtaining the resources to medically transition. I was up countless nights and weeks, like writing my own documents and papers to myself, like for my own personal study notes of like everything that I would need to do in order to achieve what I want to achieve. And how I'd go about doing that, and like talking to countless trans people that I know, and I'm in a very lucky position where I get to talk to a lot of trans people and get a whole pool of knowledge and wisdom. So
Mm-hmm.
I spent a long time planning and just kind of dealing with things personally before letting the rest of the world into my business. And there was a bit of time, but where I didn't know if I was even going to come back. Really, I didn't even know if I was going to announce and continue being an influencer after coming out. I did take a good minute, just taking a step to
Oh
think
yeah.
about whether or not I was
You
going to
you
just,
took a good break after coming out. You took a good
yeah.
break.
Hmm.
How I took it was your scenarios of the e juice just took over, and you took enough e juice, and now you're just
Yeah,
juicy girl now. So
someone commented on my coming out video, and they said the eagle juice worked. I was like, yeah, it did. It really did.
um the thing is with me it didn't really change. Like me seeing you, it's just remembering pronouns is changing the pronouns. That was
Yeah.
the only thing that was, but I felt like you're doing girl time full time now, so it's not any different than um anybody that's doing the opposite, doing boy time now. So
Yeah. Um yeah, I mean it was a hell of a journey getting to this point of coming out. Um you know, it's something that I've dealt with throughout my whole life, and it was something that I'd had a incongruence with when it came to my gender and having to live with a man's body. You know, growing up as a boy and not having the vocabulary to express and communicate what I was feeling was a really strange time, and there's so much that you can look back on in hindsight and realize, oh, like that's clearly sort of like a symptom, and that's clearly like these are clearly experiences that I was having where I was experiencing gender dysphoria, but as a kid I didn't really have the you don't have the
you didn't
vocabulary
have
to
the
explain like what's going on, and you don't know what's going on. It's really confusing. um and
right.
then around 19 years old was when I learned what transgender meant, and I learned, you know, that there was a word for it and what I was doing, because I was I had makeup and clothes and things. I did it all very like secretly in private. Like I told you before, I don't know if I can't remember what was in the interview now from before. But when I was 19, I was in college.
You were doing it in college, I remember.
Yes, and I was secretly doing all these things, and because it was something I did as a kid, and I just had this pull to do it, and I was like, I needed to explore that kind of side to myself, and there was this real draw. But at the time, I had no idea that it was even a thing. I just thought I was the only person in the bloody world who was doing this. Never heard of it before, and then I learned what being transgender meant, and that was terrifying. That was not something that it wasn't welcome news, to say the least. It wasn't welcome. It wasn't like okay, that makes sense. I'm going to transition now. Amazing, perfect. It was like, oh no, Jesus Christ. That sounds like that's a lot. And then like the next thing you see after learning what being transgender means is how people treat transgender people, and then it becomes this terrifying kind of moment where you just try and convince yourself that that's clearly not you. Then actually, I think I'm just dressing up, and I think I'm just playing silly buggers here. Like surely not. Like that. I'm not really. And I spent 7 long years after that point trying to convince myself otherwise and doing everything conceivably possible under the sun to avoid transitioning. I tried literally everything. I tried throwing everything away. I tried going to the gym. I got like a 6-pack and everything. I tried to avoid it for 7 whole long years. And there reached a point after 7 years where I realized I still feel the exact same way. And this problem has not, despite any compromise I've made, it's not gone away. And I don't think I can go another 7 years wondering what would have happened if I'd have just actually stopped fucking about and actually dealt with the problem. Right. Because it's not something that can be, it's something it's difficult to accept. And even still going through the process, I'm still very early in my journey, and it's not a sort of you come out and immediately everything like feels great and like, oh my god, like I've come out now, like that's the hardest part done. Like no, that's just like the beginning. Like like it's a long arduous like process, and that again, like knowing what was ahead was also just like another daunting task. But despite all of that, it still is like this wonderful journey that I am going through, and it is a huge weight off the shoulders, to finally be sort of like to feel free. It's tough, it's hard work, but it's it's this process of like unraveling, and getting to recognize myself in the mirror for like the first times was invaluable. Really, I can finally start like understanding who I am fully, and so much of my life makes so much more sense now, especially with all the confusing parts in the middle.
Right. So, does that first question of, well, let me say this, from everybody from my channel and the Red Panda Army that I am growing, we do welcome you and the new you, and we will always support you. So that is every day.
Even if I led a cult, what if I led like an evil cult or something?
If you lead an evil cult, we're going to be in the background supporting you.
What if I commit like war crimes? Would you still support me?
Well, my daughter, she likes to go around trying to commit arson. So, but like I tell her, I was like, here, just play this video game and you'll be fine. Now, here's the first question for you. Does this change how your content is gonna come out? Because I know a lot of people know you as you started as a boy and then you transitioned to a girl, and people like that transition.
Yes.
And that is this gonna change your content on how you do that?
Yes.
Or are you still
So
gonna
that was definitely that was a big thing. Whilst I took a good bit of time away, and even coming back, like I said, I'm still I'm in a process of discovering my next steps with content and creativity, because I definitely used TikTok and my content as an excuse and as a form of catharsis. It was basically my excuse to experience presenting feminine and presenting as a woman, whilst at the same time still getting to live without having to transition. I figured that was going to be a compromise in my life that I could get by on. I thought I could have my cake and eat it too, basically. And what I soon discovered was that it didn't really get rid of the problem. It was only ever temporary gender euphoria, and it was also more dysphoric at times because it was performance, and there was a lot of stage makeup when it came to the way I was doing makeup and wigs and costumes, and having to dress up to that degree. It's like, well, this is a costume. This isn't like, I couldn't go out to the shops dressed in this big pink wig and this sort of like almost a parody of like e-girl makeup, that's like almost to the level of drag. I thought, well, that's it was not practical. I couldn't go do my shops in it. I could have wanted to. I did once or twice, but I needed to reevaluate what I was going to do, and especially so outside of social media too. A big reason why I took a big long break was because I didn't want social media and my career to get mixed up with my transition. So I needed to kind of like figure out what cosmetic changes I was going to make in my life before going into my medical transition. I spent about half a year exploring just the cosmetic changes that I could affect, that I could change, and things in my life that I could change outside of, say, HRT and things. And I wanted to do all of those things outside of the influence of social media. I didn't want how my fashion choices and makeup style choices to be influenced too heavily by the trends of, say, the 18 to 21-year-old demographic on social media, because I'm approaching my 30s. I'm 27, I'll be 28 soon. And I need to start thinking about, okay, not only how am I going to be presenting myself, throughout my transition and post-trans, once I've gone through the kind of the main bulk of all of that, but not only that, I need to think about, well, how am I going to look going into my 30s? What's my wardrobe going to look like? And, how am I realistically going to be dressing and looking? And so I need to take a good break. And then when I came back, I knew that I wasn't going to be making videos where it was the boy to girl transitions. I didn't want to be commodifying my transition too much.
Right.
So I've made some videos already kind of talking about my transition and my journey and things. Like celebrating trans joy is something that I feel that's something I do want to share. I want to share my little celebrations. I want to share my little the moments that are exciting. Right now, transitioning is my entire personality, and I need something else to talk about. I need other content to make, because right now it is just bleeding into my content, and I fear making too much of a spectacle out of it. I don't want to just be the person who's transitioning. I don't want that to just be my entire shtick on social media.
Right.
This year I've been making plans on other things to talk about, and I had some conversations with some creators who were very influential to me. I got to meet the great Abigail Thorne last month, and she is an absolute hero to me. And I was very lucky to have dinner with her, and and we were talking about this, and I was saying, like right now transitioning is like my entire personality, and I need something else to talk about. I need other content to make because right now it is just
Yeah.
bleeding into my content, and I fear making too much of a spectacle out of it. I don't want to just be the person who's transitioning.
Yeah.
I don't want that to just be my entire shtick on social media,
Right.
So, and I've been struggling to think about what it was that I felt like I was educated to speak on, or that I was really passionate about, something I can make, say, YouTube videos on. And I reached the conclusion, I reached the kind of eureka moment later on in the conversation as I was talking about the internet and how passionate I am about the internet. And I've always been around for the past 2 decades. I've always been present for whatever is culturally trending in the zeitgeist of the World Wide Web. I've always been there.
Hmm.
I was there when vaporwave was making the rounds. I kept up to date with SoundCloud rap. I've kept up to date with what's happening right now with Gen Alpha, what they're into. Like I was around back in DeviantArt's first days. Like I've always been around for whatever is culturally relevant on the internet. And I was like, and I said, because I love the internet. It's my biggest passion in the world. I was like, I'm obsessed with the internet. I think it's such a phenomenon. I think it's such an incredible experience, for us as a humanity to go through. And it's chaos. And it's been a wild west for the past 2 decades, specifically. And I was like, that's it. I was like, that's what I can start talking about, like in long form content. I know about so many things. About times I'm telling stories to people about like different things. Like I'll be sat in the living room of a friend's house and I go, "Oh, have you seen Fruitiger Aero?" And they go, "What's Fruitiger Aero?" And I'm like, let me teach you all about this new thing right now that everyone's talking about. I was like, the late 2000s and early 2010s are already starting to become like retro, and there was this kind of corporate aesthetic that was in everything technological, and it's now been given like a brand name, like a kind of aesthetic term, which is Fruitiger Aero. And I'll just spend ages kind of like talking about this to people, and I'm like, this is what I can make videos on. So I'm in the process at the moment of scripting my first video essay.
Well, I have sent you some stuff that I want to go over of
Sure.
like videos and pictures and stuff. These photos are like when you started getting real comfortable with girl mode,
Uh-huh.
as we see. And then once you go down a little bit more, of the photos that I have sent you, there it is. And you fully coming out and then you having the time of your life.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe I'll go through these photos, I guess, because yeah, this was around the time that we did the first interview. So I had the red hair here, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to Paris. For TwitchCon, and that was really nice.
You did that. You did
Um,
that after. Just after you did.
yeah,
Probably.
so people in my personal life. So this is Mish and Molly. Um, this was a really fun evening in Paris. We were at it was a PR like evening for a game. I'm terrible. I've forgotten what the game was. I got invited along, and and it was the first time that people were like treating me, um, as such, and referring to me with she/her pronouns, and people were being introduced to me for the first time, um, not as like juicy boy, but people were meeting me for the first time. I was introducing myself, um, you know, as myself, and not, most people like would have known me before, but this was the first time that
Mm-hmm.
I was going around, and I'd go to French restaurants, and I'd be called Madame, and and it was really nice, and it was really really gratifying. It was very validating, to kind of to have that experience. It was the first time kind of fully being out and girl moding, out places. Apart from that, it was very much like just around friends. This was like I was in Paris, with strangers and with friends, and and a lot of people they were very sweet about it. They were really kind.
So it was the premiere, and then also you went for a convention as well?
Yes. So I went to a convention recently. January was a packed month. It was a busy, busy month. And it's the rest of the year is probably going to follow suit too. Yeah, so I was at MegaCon. It was like a big mix of Talkfest, Social in the City, MegaCon in London, and I was very lucky. I got to do some panels and speak on these panels and things, that talking about what's it like to be an influencer and to make content and things. And I was on a big LGBT panel, which is where I got to meet Abby Thorne. I was very, very lucky to get to speak on the same stage as her. It was truly a blessing.
Yeah, I was real surprised, and you got to go with a bunch of people that you knew, and you got to see a bunch of people that you haven't seen in a while since your transition.
Oh, I see. And I'm assuming you're talking about the dinner picture that went up.
Yeah. How did they react? Did you let them know, or did they know beforehand?
Oh yeah, Finn. I mean, everyone knew. Probably before the interview we had in the first time, everyone's reaction was, "It took you bloody long enough." It's about time.
It's like we knew before you even knew.
Yeah,
so
that was pretty much the what everyone said. Even on my coming out video, all the comments were basically, "Yeah, we knew, hun.
We kind of knew. We kind of knew."
Yeah. Oh wow. Like, oh, is this the part where I'm supposed to be surprised? Like, oh my god, I had no idea. No idea.
Okay, girl, let's go. Get in the car. We're getting you some shoes. We're actually getting you some shoes.
Yeah.
I saw your outfits and stuff. Very James Bond. Very James Bond.
Oh yes, I had a bit of a moment. I was experimenting a lot with my wardrobe, and I've incorporated a lot of business casual. Yes, I had a bit of a business casual moment.
Look at the business woman. Look at the business. She is handling
yes,
business.
So I can explain what was going on with the.
I've been doing my homework.
I even got that video of like.
Do you think your eyes are a little too small?
Yeah, so I was delving into.
Yeah,
I've been changing my wardrobe a lot, and I've been exploring. Lots of. It's been a fun experimental phase at the moment of just exploring different fashion avenues, what's flattering and what's not, basically, and what kind of vibe is it? Like, it's much different to say, like this when it was, when I was replicating e-girl style stuff for content. This is what I mean when I say like I was going for like this was a very performative replication of e-girl and what that means in online when it comes to makeup and styles and things, and it's very much like a fashion style that's influenced and dictated by a much younger kind of 18 to 21 year old kind of like demographic. That's a fashion style that's like it's very youthful, and I'm not saying that I'm old, but like it's not something that I would personally like be realistically sort of dressing up and looking like going into my 30s. So and especially I need to sort of discover like how am I going to dress? How's my makeup going to change? How is it going to be practical for me to sort of dress? So and what's going to work with me? So I started exploring many different things, and one of those things was introducing a good bit of smart casual, a good bit of business casual into things, and still trying to retain some kind of alternative or, some kind of alternative vibe to it though, and it not be completely like formal. So definitely been sort of delving and exploring a few different avenues there. And yeah, I kind of liked it. I kind of liked. I like a good shirt. I like a nice business casual look these days.
Sure. Okay.
Well, I really like it. It really matches what you're doing and how you're trying to switch up things.
Yeah.
I even got that video that you didn't click on was of you jumping around with I can't remember her name, but you guys were having fun.
This one.
You guys were having fun.
Yeah, this has been me reintroducing a lot of my alternative wardrobe back into things, my alt fashion.
What did you think?
I'm finally reintroducing like alt fashion back into my wardrobe and like wearing it and things. There was a time I kind of like felt where if I don't dress smart and if I don't dress like completely like neutrally and present myself to be as like palatable as possible, then like no one's going to take me seriously. So I definitely had a bit of a militantly be as palatable as possible kind of moment that I'm slowly kind of just sort of like now I'm like I took away any kind of like personality from like how I was presenting myself because I just wanted to be like a bit of a blank slate for a minute. You know, I kind of felt like if I don't dress appropriately, then no one's gonna sort of listen to me and no one's gonna like believe me. I was just gonna think, you know, like I'm crazy. You know, so I definitely sort of like tried to be as presentable and as palatable as possible. And at the moment, I'm reintroducing, you know, some of the things that I like when it comes to fashion back into what I wear, and yeah, it's been very nice. It's been nice documenting it all, really. It's been nice documenting because you can see in real time these kind of like little like moments where I'm trying things out, and then seeing what sticks, basically.
Okay, let's kind of move a little away with content and stuff for people that's gone long enough in this video or have seen the second part or whatever part I'm making. What's the best way of content, of putting it out there, promoting yourself, making the content? What's the advice that you would give of making online content?
The first thing is getting and doing it, right? As I can be a bit of a perfectionist sometimes, and I don't want to sort of like put stuff out there that's not totally refined. But in order for me, the process I went through from having 0 followers to getting 1 million followers, there was a point where I was just making content for the first time in or trying new things that I never tried before and putting it out there. And that's such a it's a tricky part of the process. You know, you're basically throwing eggs at a wall and hoping one of them is going to hatch. You know, it's like in Minecraft, like you throw the eggs and like eventually one hatches. You know, you're going to make a bunch of things that you're probably not going to keep doing later on. You're going to your content's going to change over time. Making the content and doing things for the first time is the only way that you're going to figure things out. You know, it's like drawing. You're not going to learn how to draw things if you keep drawing the same thing all the time. You know, eventually you're gonna have to figure out how to do a new pose, and it's going to be weird. It's going to suck at first, but that's how you develop the skill. And social media, it's a skill. It's knowing how to make content, knowing what content to make, and what people kind of want to watch. And then the challenge of that then is, how much do you play to the gallery? How much of your content are you making is what people want, and how much is what you want to make? And that's going to be a back and forth in a social media career all the time. You know, you might do something that is for you, and people really like it, but then you might get boxed into it. Then that might be your thing then, and you might get absolutely sick of it, and then you have to think of a new thing, and people don't really care for the new thing, and you know, and then you got to get people to care about the new thing you want to do. That's just the cycle of being a creator in general. That's always going to be something, unless you are unless people are there for you as a personality, and you're not giving a gimmick. If you don't have like a shtick or a gimmick, and people like you for your content as a personality, then you can pretty much you have a lot more liberties. Be careful of playing into, again, a gimmick. If if you're known for a particular joke, for a particular gag, that was something that I was very nervous and very worried about putting myself into, and I had boxed myself into a particular style of video. It's a skill. Making social media content is definitely a skill that can be learned. A lot of it comes from doing it and trying things out and really experimenting, working on even production value.
So like trial and error. Like trial and error, right?
Exactly. It's entirely trial and error. Then eventually you play with lighting and you find out lighting can be a huge thing. If you're making videos that say for like a cosplay, lighting is huge. It can make a video look like, just like in a bedroom and there's no immersion there. And once you bring in some lighting and, you choreographing some moves to the music and you're lip syncing along, there's this level of immersion that you can create now that it doesn't feel like you're watching someone in their bedroom cosplaying. Now you feel like you're watching the character. And you kind of, you suspend your disbelief and you watch the video like you're watching Junko Inashima, like the actual character and not someone cosplaying as Junko for a moment. And then you come back and you're like, no, this is a cosplayer in their bedroom. And they've created this immersive moment where I got to enjoy the performance. And yeah, again, it's all a craft. It's all a skill. Regardless of what kind of social media content you make, it's a skill that can be learned, and it's just learned in time. You just keep making content and you keep researching and studying other creators. Who inspires you? What do you watch? Do you want to make what inspires you? Are you going to replicate that? And that's basically, you have to consciously be improving and keeping track of yourself.
Is there anything you want to tell us before we do end this this video? Is there anything you want to say?
Keep an eye out for a lot of things that I'm working on. I've been really busy this start of the year, and I've got lots of exciting things coming up. YouTube videos, it's all going to be a lot different over on YouTube. As of this month, I've got a deadline to set myself to script my first big YouTube video. Midway through that one, and I'll be filming that really soon. It's really exciting. I'll be going into Vaporwave, where that came from, a giant deep dive. It's going to be like a 45-minute long video, basically. That's kind of the area we're going into. Video essays, deep diving into things. So if you want to see something like that, my YouTube channel will be going through a bit of a transformation in terms of what's going up on there. If you want to see any of my old videos, they're going to be going down. Once the new one comes up, I will be refreshing basically the content that will be on that page. So if you want to see them before my new one comes out, they're up for a limited time now before I change up what'll be up on there. And apart from that, yeah, I mean, there's going to be lots of makeup stuff and cosplay things over on TikTok. There's some secret projects that nobody knows about yet. A few secret things that I can't even talk about that will be announced and will be coming out really soon. So keep an eye out for a few announcements. I've been preparing a good few things this year that will be coming out, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for people to see them.
Well, that is amazing. As you heard it here first on the smallest YouTube channel, you guys, we've got confirmation of new stuff, limited time stuff.
And if you don't subscribe right now, then I will hold my breath And
Oh my
you know what?
God,
I'm gonna
we
hold my
don't
breath
want
until you subscribe right now.
Okay, I think they did it. Because it's only a second. Well, make sure you guys so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have all her information down. Guys, look what you're doing to her! Look what you're doing! You gotta hit the subscribe button! But I will put all of her information in the video through all. Do subscribe to Juicy Girl on all of her platforms, and we will be seeing. We'll be seeing some more. Later on, we'll probably do a later on video. We apologize for the late posts from part 1 to part 2 of this. It was just something that was going on with her coming out and everything, and I wanted to be respectful.
Well, you said this was going to be a 3-part thing, and technically, it still is. You know, this could just be a part 2. This was always part 2. This was always going to be part 2. You know, and part 3 can be later. We were playing chess, not checkers. We were playing chess, not checkers.
Well, I do really appreciate you, taking the time out of your days to talk to me and being part of this with me. So, I really do.
Well, I appreciate you having me. It was really sweet, really fun to do. And yeah, I'm glad that you think I'm interesting enough to pick my brain.
Oh, I always want to pick a whole lot of brains. As for anything else, you guys just keep an eye out for this when this video goes up. We'll be posting. I'll be posting it in her Discord, which I will show, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Say bye, Juicy.
Bye.